What it do, guys, and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at Valkyr. Inside the Techra Encore update, she basically got an extra additional slot for an Arcane, so you can now go and put an Arcane on all Warframes that have Exalted. So this is why we're going to be diving into the Valkyr builds. Now we'll go and say just before we go and get into the build that there's normally 3 different types of builds that you go and see. There might be like a just standardized, you walk up kind of spam E, but it's not really that great. Just normal attacks on her don't flow very well because of how her stance works. But you'll see things like melee vortex and melee influence there. Cool, you can do those. There's nothing wrong with that. I've tried them, they're good. Other things you can go and do is the slide. So you kind of like, you slide attack and so forth. You will see most Valkyr players do this, but I won't lie to you, I come from a meta of main strike, and if you understand those words, you understand why I never want to slide melee ever again. I'm bored of it. I don't want to do slide melee builds anymore. Main strike days, rest in peace, and keep it that way. So the third one that we did go and get here is a heavy attack build. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight in towards her build down here. Now, this is going to be for your dummy mummy, step on me kind of build. Valkyr is your girl. What we're going to be doing here is just straight up heavy attacking. And as she heavy attacks, she stomps. So let's go ahead and talk about the mods that we got here and a quick rundown of what's going on. So I'm going to start things off with my damage. Now, you can do damage in a few different ways. You can go ahead and do flat damage like prime pressure point. You can go ahead and do damage like kill and blow with heavy attack wind-up speeds, which just naturally synergizes into heavy attacks because they have wind-up speed. Or you can go and do scaling damage, which on this one 80% melee damage per status type affecting the target. That basically means if I had just one status proc on the target, so status puncture proc was on the target, then I would get 80% here. But if I had one puncture proc and one impact proc, I'd get 160. One puncture, one impact, one slash. You get the idea? It's going up and up and up. So 160 to 240, 240 to 320, 320 to 400. It keeps going and going and going. The idea is we want to go and use this with a companion that procs lots of different elements. So keep that in mind because we're going to get to the companion later. He is very important for what we're going to be doing for this build. So again, if you don't have those, that's fine. Just go and put on prime pressure point or whatever you want to. All right, it's not the end of the world. So here, I'm just going to go and use reach. Ideally, I want to go ahead and hit enemies a little bit further away or go and reach them for further away. So it's just going to be good quality of life. There's nothing really better than this. So we're going to chuck it in. Now, galvanized reflex, the way that this works is the heavy attack efficiency. Basically, when you stomp inside the game or when you use a heavy attack, your damage from your heavy attack actually scales off your combo counter, in case you wasn't aware of that. So the higher your combo counter, the more damage you will do on your next heavy attack. Well, we can play around with that with things like Tennokai, but on this build, we're not going to be using Tennokai. Therefore, since we're doing just raw heavy attacks at all points, this mod becomes the best because on melee kill, you get plus 20 initial combo for 20 seconds. So long as I'm remaining active and killing and so forth, what's going to happen here is that combo counter at the bottom of the screen, when you go and watch some gameplay later, you'll see at the combo counter, when I stomp and I'm finished stomping, you'll see my combo counter just start building up again. So it's almost as if like I'm doing lots and lots of hits, but I'm not actually doing anything because this mod is going to scale our combo. I believe it's up until like a maximum of 5 or something like that, I think it is. So yeah, you can go ahead and add this in. It works perfectly because again, we get more damage, right? Okay. So from there onwards, I'm going to go and focus on the next 2 things. And I'm going to tell you right now that both of these are interchangeable. I have currently got faction mods and I have currently got viral. Now I'm going to go and explain why I'm running both of these. Number one, I like fighting the Archon, and Archon are corrupted, so the idea you find them in quite a lot of like end game areas due to them being corrupted. Number 2, they're multiplicative. So this is a multiplicative damage mod. This is a 0.55, or sorry, a 55% is a 1.55. So 55% multiplicative to the damage that we're doing. So this actually multiplies off of any kind of like base damage stuff that we're doing. So this is great. It's extra damage. Furthermore, now I'm going to be running these, and I'm going to be running those because if I look over here on viral, it says damage efficacy. Imagine this is like a 50% vulnerability to what you're doing to that target, but not really. Basically, what happens here is that when you have damage efficacy, you see that viral that I've got there is 1,811. Now take that, but multiply it by 0.5. The idea is I go ahead and get a bit more damage added towards the build, so when I do go ahead and attack, I'm doing a lot more raw damage there again. So again, this is because I'm taking on Archon. You can see why they're interchangeable. So if you're taking on Grineer, swap to whatever Grineer is. So it's corrosive and smite Grineer and so forth. Now, I will go and say this really quickly. Some people don't like swapping out faction mods and they just can't be bothered. If that's you, don't worry, I hear you, it's okay. Like I said earlier, one of these mods will go ahead and fit in here pretty much perfectly, and it will go ahead and give you more base damage rather than you having to build it up. So it's going to go ahead and add towards this. It's not multiplicative, it's going to add towards what's going on here, but it also helps your heavy attack wind up speed, which is what we're going to get to in this mod in a moment. So you could just do that if you're looking for more of a general generic build where you don't care about what faction you go against, you just want to go and do some damage. That's fine, okay? But I want the most damage I can get. Now down here, I do have things like Galvanized Steel and Amalgam Organ Shatter. Now, I will go and say this really quickly. If you do not have critical chance on your build and you're looking for a heap of critical chance, consider this mod here called Sacrificial Steel. It actually gives you 220% critical chance, but that's actually a ×2 for heavy attacks. It's actually 440% critical chance. The reason why I'm not running that is because I'm using an ability called Raffle Advance on my Valkyr build, which is a subsumable ability. We'll get to that in a moment. So I've already got my critical chance sorted. I don't actually need critical chance. So Galvanized Steel, you'll notice that it starts off with critical chance. I don't care. I don't care. That's not why I'm taking it. All right. Read it more. On meta kill, you get 30% critical damage for 20 seconds, stacks up to 4 times. That is actually giving me 120% critical damage. Now, again, it requires me to be active, but so does this as well. So we're going to be quite an active stomp kind of build and so forth. If I do get out of combat for 20 seconds, I just got to rebuild it. It's not the end of the world, but you can see how like this is going to require me to be very active about what I'm doing. So if you can't be active, or if you're playing inside a group and you find yourself struggling and whatnot, these are not the mods that you want to be running these three. Again, you'll just change them for more flat things, more flat crits, more you can just change that to whatever, and then you can go and change for flat damage. Anyways, to give you an idea as to how good this mod is, if we go and look at one of the other biggest mods that we've currently got, this gives us 90% critical damage. That's 120. But again, if you can't go and get it, you can go and whack that over there, and then you can go and put a critical mod over here to go and put prime pressure point there. I think I already just said that. I've just said that twice. Well, now you've got the information twice. All right, deal with it. So down here we got Amalgam Organ Shatter, and the way that this basically works is, for those who don't know, is we do have, so this is a variant of the Organ Shatter, but it's 5% less critical damage. However, it gives me a 60% heavy attack wind up speed. So if I go and let go of this, if I go ahead and attack with Valkyr's heavy attack and only heavy attack scale off 2 things, and I'm going to give you an analogy to try and help you understand it. So it scales off wind up and then it scales off attack speed, but remember, it's always in that order. It's wind up then attack speed. You see, most things that we go ahead and do, here's your analogy, forgive me, my goodness, violence. Here's your analogy. If I was to go ahead and jab like this is just attack speeds. But if I wanted to go and do a haymaker, like a really big punch, what do? I torque my fist, I'm bringing my body back. That's wind up. Get the idea? That's the same thing that you're doing. So you're winding up and then you're unleashing. Wind up is affected by this mod and kill and blow and so forth. So that's going to go ahead and wind her leg up into the air. If you want to go ahead and then finish the last bit of the animation, because they're 2 separate animations, so like 2 different increments. If you want to go ahead and finish the last bit of the animation, you want attack speed, which is then releasing it, you know, just letting all of that power off so the leg comes down and hits the enemy. The good thing is, Warcry, which is their second ability, essentially is attack speed. So I don't need any attack speed in the build, but here's the thing, I also don't even need to proc Warcry, because once I've got the wind up done, believe me, that's enough. So you can go ahead and run this, and you can also go ahead, so that puts me to 0.94 from 1.5, and you can also go ahead and, like I said, if you run the kill and blow, you can also go and see what that looks like. That now goes to 0.8, so it's a lot faster to go ahead and hit those enemies as well from that. So that's basically the build there. Now I do have things like Dispatch Overdrive on heavy attack. I go and get some movement speed. We're not using Tennokai for this build, so don't think about it. There's no Tennokai being used here. You are only heavy attacking, so you will not really go ahead and get much from Tennokai. This is just innate, so you can't do anything with it. And the Arcane that I'm currently running is on ability cast. You gain 60% corrosive damage from melee strikes. This basically just means cast a couple abilities, which I will be doing. I'll be using Raffle Advance, and as long as I go ahead and cast an ability of Raffle once every 25 25 seconds, which is roughly about where my build is for duration, I keep this going afloat as well. So it's a very, very active build. This only lasts for 25 seconds, 240% damage. This only lasts for 20 seconds, lots of initial combo. This only lasts for 20 seconds, lots of very, very active. You're getting in, you are stepping on people, and you are walking all over the competition. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and talk about Valkyr herself. So let's go ahead and dive straight in towards her build. So up on the screen, what we're going to pay attention to is on the left-hand side, we want to go and talk about the statistical abilities. So these ones over here. Anyways, start off in this order: strength, because you want as much damage as possible; duration, because you want as much quality of life timers as possible. Everything else from there onwards, to me, doesn't really matter, but efficiency. Now, I don't know how you want to fix your efficiency. It's entirely up to you, but I know how I want to fix my efficiency, okay? So let's go ahead and dive in towards the build. So let's go and cover the strength mods really quickly. I got Blind Rage. This is going to give me the maximum amount of ability strength, which is exactly what I want. But I do want it on 2 different abilities in here. So I'm not going to be putting it on one in particular. I'm going to be using it on 2. Now, this does hurt my ability efficiency. I'm okay with that because, like I said, I have managed to go and fix it. However, I need to go and fix it. We'll get to that in a second. Transient Fortitude does go ahead and hurt my ability duration a little bit, but honest to God, it doesn't hurt it enough to make me go ahead and be like, oh God, I can't run it. No, I can run it. If you do want to go consider things like Precision Intensify, you can consider it, but do go and keep in mind it's not going to help your subsumable option. So in this case here, we have Raffle Advance. Raffle Advance gives me 322% critical chance to base critical chance of the weapon. This is a lot of critical chance. My advice to you is, if you look at the critical weapon, so in this case the Talons, and if you look at Raffle, you basically want to add them together to make sure by minimum you can get over 300%. As long as you're over 300%, even if it's just like this right now, you're in a good spot because you're basically going to be hitting reds all of the time. So you get big old super hits, which is great. So this is why I'm not really precision intensifying. If you don't have the subsumable, just precision intensify if you want to. And then, like I said, chuck Sacrificial Steel on your weapon instead, and then just do that for now, all right? And then from there onwards, a bit of Umbral Intensify, 44% ability strength, so that's fine. But again, Precision Intensify would have to go over this mod. From there, I've got the duration. This can be narrow-minded. Now, ability range is really, and I mean this, is so catastrophically not needed in this build. I don't care about range in the slightest. I am just buffing myself, walking up to an enemy and stomping on them. That's all I need to go and do. So nothing in here I care about scaling off range. Then from there onwards, I go ahead and run the prime continuity. These are going to go and help the duration of this, which is 22 seconds, which then synergizes with my melee exposure. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's just underneath that 25-second threshold. So I keep recasting this and I'm automatically getting exposure. So I don't have to think about exposure being proc, like, oh God, did I proc it? Well, do I have this on the timer right now? The answer is no, then no, I didn't proc my exposure. The odds are I missed it. Get the idea? Now, as for efficiency, like I said, I've got the Prime Flow, I've got the Equilibrium, and then I've got the Arcane Energize. Between these 3 things here, this is going to be enough to go ahead and look after my energy. Basically, so long as I'm killing, I'll end up hopefully making enemies drop health orbs, but I've also got a mod on my companion that will help me do that. Then when they drop health orbs, every time I go and collect the health orb, I'm getting some energy back as well. And if they do go and drop an energy orb, that's great, because Energize can go ahead and proc off that energy orb. On an energy pickup, there's a 60% chance to replenish 150 enemy to self and allies within 50 meters. This just works really, really well, because whenever you start using draining channeled abilities, there's only a few major ways that you can get energy back. Okay, so if you're going to run things like energy siphon or whatever and so forth, or you're going to take like another Warframe to try and help you out with energy, that may not be happening here. When you're channeling in this is a very active one. You basically want energy orbs and equilibriums and stuff like that, all right? So this isn't going to work when this is active. Okay, that's just not how it's going to work. And then from there onwards, I want to store as much energy as humanly possible, okay? Because I want to be in my 4th as long as humanly possible. You will notice I have 0 survival inside this build. Where's the survival coming from? Hysteria, right? The way that Hysteria is basically going to go ahead and work is that it drains energy per second whilst being there, and I'm essentially invulnerable to any kind of incoming damage, and I'm also invulnerable to statuses. Now, statuses may go ahead and proc. You'll see them kind of like bleed ticks and stuff like that, but I'm not actually taking damage. What is happening is I'm storing total accumulated damage in me, and then when I cast, like if I uncast this ability near an enemy and I stored all of that damage, it can literally one-shot me. So basically, if you're gonna uncast Hysteria, you need to even make sure, A, don't run out of energy, okay? Because again, it'll bypass shield gating. It will literally just one-shot you. B, like, oh god, I'm running out of energy, run. I don't care, just get away from every enemy, then you can uncast it safely, all right? That's basically what you want to be doing when you have this up here. You can't even be knocked down, so I don't need prime sure-footed. I don't need anything like that, all right? So this here is my 100% survival. This here is my 100% offense. I don't need a second ability, but it's okay if you want to go and use it. And yes, just really quickly, it's okay if you want to go and use the augment as well, Eternal War, because I'm sure some people will be like, oh, what about the Eternal War augment? If you want to go and use it, but like I said, it only affects the second part of the stomp, not the wind up. There's a huge difference, huge difference. So it's actually not needed whatsoever. And then there's Rip Line, we don't use that. And then there's the passive, we also just don't really use this. Okay, so it's basically 2 abilities, off you go. Now I am using Ready Steel, which squad begins combat with 24 initial combo. As you could imagine, this is going to synergize with that galvanized reflex that I've got as well. So I'm getting quite a lot of combo just overall, just building up right now. Now, if you don't have the Ready Steel, you can go ahead and use this one here. It's called Steel Charge. And this one also gives you a good amount of capacity to go and fit more mods into your build. So this is also fine if you're looking for some more damage. As always though, for those who don't know, the combo counter, if you can scale that as much as you possibly can, that's more important than putting flat damage like Steel Charging. Scale it. I don't care how you do it, just figure it out. Scale it, okay? So that's always good. Then I've got a Mars Anguish. Honestly, I don't really need many things in here, and I was just testing the teleport to target. Ideally, at this point, you can go and put Power Drift in here if you wanted to. That also works well. So you can go and chuck that in. Like, I can't right now, but you can if you had it on yours. I think that's the reason why I didn't put mine in. So for now, I've just got the parkour velocity and sprint speed that just allows me, because I'm going to be in this basically all of the time. Oh, another thing to go and say about this. Sorry, I felt like I'm rambling. Another thing to go and say about this. Hysteria only works in terms of survival before I go and get to the Arcanes. If I go and press 4 here with Hysteria, and if I go ahead and bring, so you see in the top right, I've got iframes. So right now, nothing could hurt me, like whatsoever. I am 100% okay. You'll also see a circle kind of growing out away from me. That circle there is also scaling off of this percentage that you see here. This is Hysteria as well, right? So this circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That is the circle that you want to run away. Do not detonate with enemies inside, because if you do, it'll look something like this. If I just go and let them shoot me, you'll see I won't take any damage. I won't even be knocked back either. I can get pushed back, but I can't be knocked back, right? See, I'm literally invulnerable. But watch what will happen. So I don't want to go and drop this right now. But if I go ahead and cast this off really quickly and I pause them, I can one-shot myself in a second. So what I'm going to... Oh, no, sorry. I'm going to summon them back in. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, can you... Yeah, I don't know if you can just about see the circle. It's just about touching the pipe right now over there. I need to go and change my... I think it's energy color that you can go and change that on. But basically, if I'm next to these guys, you see all the stored up damage that I've got in here? I think 30% of this will go ahead and be taken if I uncast it next to them. So this is what happens if I run out of energy or if I uncast it near an enemy. Don't be next to enemies when you're going to uncast it, or be very cautious of your energy down in the bottom right. This is all about energy management, which is why you might need to go and juggle your energy better than mine. There was another reason why I got over here to go ahead and show you something with this. Oh, it's the iframes. So if you see, sorry, I've got off topic here. So if you see inside the top right, there's iframes. Stay on track, Clark, stay on track. So there's iframes right now. Iframes obviously mean the enemies aren't going to go and hurt me. But if I pull out a primary or a secondary weapon, if we look up in the top right, I'm now susceptible to damage. Even though if you look in the bottom right, I'm still channeling the ability, I'm going to have to hold my melee button down to make sure I fully equip it, and then that way I go back towards my iframes again, or I just auto attack, whatever. So just be careful with that. That's the only way you're dying, which is why we're going to stay in Hysteria as long as we possibly can. Excuse me. Now, the other things that we did go and get over here is the Arcanes. I've already spoke about Arcane Energize inside the build. This is basically going to be very important to go ahead and make sure that I don't get that one shot going on me. Keep in your fourth, stay in your fourth. So things like acolytes like violence and nullifier bubbles, terrifying. All right, try and keep yourself a bit of distance away from them and figure out how to deal with them and get yourself to safety. Otherwise, outside of that, you're a wrecking machine near enough. All right, and then Arcane Fury on critical hit, which is basically guaranteed on this build. I get 180% damage as well. It's just free. All right, if you want to though, you could do things like Molt Augmented, which also works really well, and it also scales, so it gives you basically 250 kills, 60% ability strength. That's what you're gonna be getting. So that would ramp this up, that would ramp this up. That's pretty cool. You can go and get more damage over time if you want to do that. Besides from that, let's go and talk about the Archon Shards really quickly. So the number one shard that I would recommend, this is actually the number one shard, is maximum energy filled on spawn. Ideally, when it comes towards this build, you basically want to enter your 4th and off you go, right? Now, you're not going to be able to do that unless you use like a preparation mod. Now, the good thing is you do have room for a preparation mod, so you can always go ahead and chuck that in on the Exciter slot, but I would just go ahead and chuck this in instead. And to us, actually, I think preparation, more I think about it, I think it's actually better than this shard here, because then it frees up room for another Violet. So oops. Anyways, this works pretty well. I've just clocked where I've gone wrong. But yeah, this works pretty well. It just allows me to go ahead and get into my 4th, off I go, start killing, start making the village cry without roars. I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyways, slaughter everything. From there onwards, then we got 4 Violets over here. And the way that the Violets basically works is I get 25% melee critical damage. And when my max energy is over 500, this will turn from 25 into 50. So just by quick math, it would have been 25, 50, 75, 100, but it's doubled because I am over, and this is where the prime flow comes in as well, I am over 500. Therefore, these are not 100 in total, this is 200% critical damage I'm also getting. And again, it's a very heavy critical build. So this means we can absolutely slap him around and we're good to go. A few of the things that you can go ahead and see in here really quickly is going to be the Grimoire. Now we have something called Snapshot Strength, and I get this question quite a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it here right now. When it comes towards these things here, like Foam Invocation, the way that it basically works is when I go ahead and alt fire this out, I'll go and hit quite a few enemies with it, and then when it builds up to 60%, it gives me 60% ability strength. Remember that, just for now, 60% ability strength. The second thing is the Madurai Focus School down here. This is Sling Strength. Basically, I switch out to my Operator, I sling into the ground a couple of times, I switch back to my Warframe. This gives me 40% ability strength. On this build, I have an extra 100% ability strength on top of the 322. Let me show you what that looks like. And I want you guys to understand how it genuinely works, right? This is what we call Snapshot Strength. So if I go and show you right now, if I click on my abilities, we're just going to look down there. You see where it says 805 damage, right? If you don't remember that number, remember 322, right? All I'm going to go and do is shoot my book into them. That's going to proc. I need 60% up here, so my eyes look up. When I see 60, I'm good to go. Now that 60's been done, dash into the ground a couple of times, switch back. I've now got the 40. 60 and 40 is the hundreds. Remember that 800s? It's now 1,000. Remember that 322? It's 421. I've been scammed. I've lost 1%. Oh my god, that 1% will be made up if you guys go and like this video. For every one like we got... I don't know what I'm doing, sorry, YouTuber mode. That was cringe. Right. So that's basically what's going on there. Now, the way that this works and the way that Snapshot Strength works is, if I now cast my 4th ability now with this new value, so long as I don't uncast it, or so long as it doesn't drop, I will keep that same value even when these expire. You see, there's only 14 seconds on that, there's 18 seconds on that. It's called Snapshot Strength. Your channeled ability will keep whatever you have at the time that you cast it. Even if these expire, it doesn't matter, so long as I casted it during the activity of those two. Does that make sense? I don't think I could make that make sense anymore, but yes, I get that question a lot on quite a few of my builds, so I figured, let me just run that down like as far as I could there, okay? So, but as for something like, just real quickly, as for something like Raffle, this isn't a channeled ability. This is channeled, this is energy over time. This is constantly draining my energy. This is not, this is just a one-time cast. So for this one, no, I'd have to redo all of it again. This isn't a snapshot, this is Snapshot, okay? So the idea is, once I've done that, I look towards the ground, I go and do this, I go ahead and do that, I walk up towards the enemies, and this is just a hypothetical, I don't even have the primer on. Boom. That was just 7.3 mil, and I haven't really done anything, right? Again, condition overload is not scaling right now. So you get a rough idea what could become of this build. Now, if I condition overload, I'd do a bit more. And now everything, as you can see, the buffs are all starting to kick in and things are starting to look very, very crispy. I do have a Praedos for the parkour velocity. So I just use that to go ahead and make sure I can bullet jump and move around a little bit because of the Mars Anguish that I also have on my thingy. I am yapping too much. Let's go and get some gameplay on the screen. I'm sure you want to go and see Dummy Mummy in action. And as you can see, yeah, hit Rex. Now, I will go and say this, it's probably not for everyone, and I get it, there are melee influence builds, and there are other builds out there like the Vortex ones and so forth, but why not just stomp on someone and absolutely hit damage cap? I mean, this makes it so easy. Now, I won't lie to you, and I'm going to be completely and brutally honest, that when it comes towards the stomp build and to go and hit damage cap, you'll notice that I actually only hit it on certain enemies, and I always want to be transparent about that, because I don't want to go and be misleading with how this works. When it comes towards hitting damage cap, I will look for things like butchers or things like drones, potentially sometimes dogs as well. It's even like an Exalted butcher is also, an Exalted butcher is also fine as well. These enemies are so much easier to go and do way more damage on them. So if I can, that's great. I will target those guys and make sure that they're primed with my companion, which we'll go and get to in a moment. I forgot about the companion build. But yeah, those are my targets, all right? Everyone else will just die anyways, as you can clearly see. Acolytes will get one shot. They don't have a choice. You could imagine just honestly how much damage I'm actually doing if I can have the opportunity to hit damage cap. So it's a lot of things brought together to make a really easy stomp on people build and just go and have some fun with it. It's something different. I don't know how many people actually do Valkyr stomp builds. I was actually contemplating, I'm going to go and bring you guys back here now because you've seen the gameplay. I was actually contemplating of like not even uploading this because I was like, I don't think people are going to enjoy this, but maybe you will. I don't know. Please be vocal if you do enjoy these kind of things. I have a few more in my arsenal with some other frames that personally I wouldn't play that often, but I feel like if someone else enjoys it, then maybe I should go and give you the ammo to understand how to build things like this so that you can, you know, take this knowledge and use it in other things. So anyways, rambling. Right, let's go and talk about the companion just really quickly, and then this is the last one and we're good to go. Been a bit of a long video, so let's go and use the Dirigger companion. No shock, you'll see this in a lot of my builds, but basically the reason why I go ahead and use it is because I want to apply as many elements as possible. Now you could do this on whatever companion you want to. Like, hey Clark, can I use? Yes, go do whatever you want to go and do. For me, this one works the best, and I'll tell you why. Arc coil. Not only, so this will zap enemies within 7 meters. If you think about how my build is working, I'm very on top of them. They're very on top of me. So 10 meters is great. 7 enemies is also great. But there's a 10% chance for electric proc. That's also nice. Remember that, because that's an extra element, but a 10% chance. Now, manifold basically means all preset mods, this is a preset mod, will basically go ahead and scale elements from their equipped weaponry. So since this thing is attacking on its own, because this is its ability, I now need to go ahead and make sure that on my weapon, I put lots and lots of elements. Now, the other thing that I do have here is whenever I go and injure them, there's a 25% chance that they'll go and drop a health orb, which again is good for my equilibrium, okay? Those are like some of the main ones. Now I'm gonna go and take a Death Machine Rifle. You can take whatever you want to, but I'll explain why I took Death Machine Rifle. Death Machine Rifle comes with 3 innate statuses, which is great. It's IPS. I can add loads of other elements onto it now, and you can see how many elements I actually have. So not only do I have Impact, Puncture, and Slash, which is free, I then have Viral, I then have Radiation, I have Magnetic, and I have Heat. So 3 and 4 is 7. With the Electric proc being 8, now scale all of this on Condition Overloads, which scales per 1 element that I have on there, is going to be the 80% multiplied by 8 in this scenario. There is a lot of damage that is being done. Can't remember the maths, so I'm gonna go put it on screen. So I'm like pointing to it there, like, yeah, you editor me will know, all right? But on this build, basically just fire all heat, and then down here, radiation, combination for radiation, combination for magnetic. I can't do any better than that right now, so that's basically what I've got. So anyways, that's going to basically be the build as a whole. I think I've covered absolutely everything. I want to thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I don't want to take any more of your time. Go out there, step on people, step on me. What? Don't step on me, subscribe. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. And if you do like this video, please go and like it or share the video with a friend. But as always, guys, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to stop yapping. I'm out your hair. I'll catch you guys again in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.